James Lingo is a transfer student who is now running, is a member of BAM, and running with that, was a war veteran from Afghanistan and Iraq, has been very, very aggressive and assertive in organizing students here on this campus to fight for justice and to make sure that we increase underrepresented minority student enrollment and fight for immigrant rights, as well as fighting for justice for Oscar Grant and against police brutality. So I'd like to welcome James Lingo.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say that it's going to be hard to say anything that's going to match the potency of those last two testimonials. I'm still kind of feeling it right now after hearing that. We were told when I was going to school in the mid-'90s and the late '90s that affirmative action was bad for minorities. I was told that as a Puerto Rican student, if I came to a university like Berkeley under affirmative action, I would feel like I didn't deserve to be here. And I wouldn't feel like I had worked as hard as a white student had, or a full white student because I'm half mixed race. And I was told that if we banned this in California, that we would find we didn't need it, and that numbers would grow on their own, and that racism is over and it's in the past. And I got to Berkeley after a little bit longer route than most, as Ben kind of mentioned, and I was immediately struck by the fact that when walking on the campus, and when you cross Bancroft, or when you come up on Shattuck, as someone who lives in Oakland and moved there and spent a few months there before I started going to school, you literally are walking into a whole different environment, a whole different world. And I think that a lot of people here, you can really feel and notice the difference in the demographics and the difference in the dichotomy of students. And walking, just crossing onto the campus, it's dramatic. And it doesn't represent the demographics in our state. It doesn't represent the local area at all. I think I've lived, like most of you, I've lived a great majority of my life in California, a great deal of my life in California. And Berkeley's campus is not what I picture in my mind as the ideal distribution of race. And the idea that our administration has selected people that we've all, from a variety of races, have competed to come here, and that our administration has said, by their selection, that this is the ideal student body, this is the flagship campus. African American students and Latina students combined should represent less than a fifth of our student body, and that's what the flagship of the UC system supports. That's not right. When Oku and I a few days ago were campaigning for the Defend Affirmative Action Party, and we were at the Student Commons, and I was talking to a Latina student, and her father, through the affirmative action, was able to go to Harvard. And he pulled his family out of their economic situation, and he was able to give those gifts to his children. And now she's coming here as a UC Berkeley student. But she told me that she still feels like she doesn't deserve to be here sometimes. That the reason she's here is because she's a minority and she's filling a checkbox in the demographic pool. And when I heard that, knowing what I know about the distribution on this campus, I was like, you should never feel that way. No student on this campus should ever have to feel that way. Every student that's been here has worked hard and overcome a variety of things to come here. Not just academically, but in our life. I mean, you've heard the testimonies of the last two students. I don't feel like I need to get into too much detail about what I've done in my service in the Marine Corps, but afterwards I'd be more than happy to answer any questions about that too. But I think no one should have to feel that way. And after hearing that, and after knowing that our campus numbers are so low, we can say we've tried to have the ban, and we know it doesn't work. The promises were not kept. minorities on this campus do not feel like they're a part of the greater community. Everyone, I'm glad that we have, ethnic organizations and parties and multicultural events, and then that's our student government is sponsored that. But it's not enough, and I think we really need to do a lot more. And we need to recognize that if you're a Latino or Latina student, your fellow African American students, your fellow LGBT students, your fellow Islamic students, students who have different preferences, different ideologies, whatever reason you're being separated from the community at large, we all need to recognize that it behooves us to work together, including anti-racist white students. And I know that there are a lot of students on this campus that are white students that recognize that, and I'm not trying to make that distinction at all. But when we recognize that and we unite and we work together, that is how we can actually achieve our individual goals. And we need to unify and we need to build a youth movement. And this is something that's serious. And it's not, I'm all about having a good time, but this is something that we need to fight for. This is something that we need to be impassioned over. I told people when I was campaigning for DAP, when I was trying to get people to come to this, I was like, if you feel passionately about these issues, come. If you don't feel passionately about these issues, definitely come. Because you need to be here. Exactly. You need to hear these stories. The DREAM Act is only one step of many that we have to take to move in the right direction, to re-earn the reputation Berkeley has as a radical, liberal, and progressive university. I was in the Marine Corps, and that is a starkly conservative organization. In a squadron of 250 individuals, we had one Democrat. And he heard about it every day. Everyone outside of Berkeley thinks of Berkeley as radical and progressive. That's what I thought of, and that's why I wanted to come here. That's why students are so drawn here. And yet, it seems so much that our administration is ashamed of that reputation. That very reputation that gave us our notoriety, that made us so successful, that made us the #1 public school in the United States, and 20th in the world. And I just think that we should all hear the next couple of testimonies and reflect on those that we've heard, and think about all those that we haven't heard, and all those that we'll never hear. And I think that we should recognize that whatever we can do, what small parts, I know we all have a lot of responsibilities and we all have a lot of stress, but we need to contribute what we can, we need to communicate, and we need to talk to others, and we need to fight, and we need to not be afraid to be militant. As an anthropology major, I study the process of indoctrination and enculturation into an environment and a culture. And we're taught that we learn more from observation than any other form of education. And being a student at Berkeley and observing the status quo here is not a good preparation in any way, shape, or form for the real world in the United States, or for a better world. And I think we have to lead the way in pointing out that it's wrong. We have to be the ones to bring it up and say, hey, I'm sorry if this makes you feel uncomfortable, but this is FUBAR. For those of you who know what that means, it's fucked up beyond all recognition. This is not the representation that I think would be ideal in my United States. And I think we need to fight for that. And we need to not be worried about being ashamed of those things. And we should never feel bad for being a minority student here. You deserve to be here, and don't let anyone ever tell you not otherwise. And I just encourage you to find out how you can work with your community and how you can combat these issues. And thank you.